Hi, my name's Joe Hadley. This is my podcast, Being a Human Lighthouse. I'm an online somatic therapist and counsellor. I was a physiotherapist for many years, and it was from looking at my own life and from listening and treating countless patients and clients over the years, I realised how much our chronic pain, chronic illnesses, and even acute injuries can sometimes have a relationship to what else is going on in our life, unresolved emotions and past histories. Because when you look at the big picture and understand where people are coming from, what's going on in their lives, what their beliefs are about their injuries or themselves, you could see clearly how different people's recovery often was. When people had more positive and beliefs in their healing and trusted their body to heal or trusted their therapists, compared to others that were having a lot of other conflicts in their life, in relationships or work, or just had beliefs, faulty beliefs about what their injury meant, even thinking about what it meant with family history. These beliefs, I could see, were clearly creating different outcomes, and I was curious about that. I also did a lot of work with fascia myself and learnt how so much of our personal history and unresolved emotions were trapped in this soft tissue. And we didn't even have to know what it was we were releasing, but often people would just feel taller, straighter, more aligned. They'd feel lighter. They'd feel better. I even had some saying that they don't know what was happening, but they're responding differently in life. So clearly, I understood that our emotions and history were trapped in the body. I recall also asking myself a question while I was meditating one morning about, I wanted to know what true health was, because I felt like there was something still missing in our traditional model. Not that it's wrong, not that everything we do is wrong. I think there's a place for everyone. I just think there is still a missing component. Science is always evolving. It's not exact. It's always an approximation of what we believe and know at the time, and is constantly evolving like we are. Nothing stays stagnant. We're always pushing the boundaries to more expansion, more knowledge. How I used to treat people as a physiotherapist 20, 30 years ago is vastly different to how I was working at the end. I was definitely way more holistic, and the technique I used integrated everyone's health as well as their physical injuries. And I was using the fascia to link everything, even just from a movement perspective, but understanding how the different chronic illnesses affected our fascia and the pull of the chain of flow through the fascia. And it was really clear how important that was. And so understanding people's chronic illness often gave me clues to where to look when they had their physical injuries, even at the other end of their body. Like they could have had issues in the heart area, but they had issues down the little finger side of the arm or down into the legs. So I knew there was something more about emotions and beliefs that we probably weren't addressing clearly. I was curious about the acupuncture and meridian lines, and even the technique with the fascia that I did, fascia manipulation, was actually using points in the body that were also corresponding to acupuncture points. And as a lot of people keep discovering these acupuncture points from various points of view, there must be something interesting about those points. And the fascia is a semiconductor, so it was quite clear and often reported by clients that they could feel sensations at different parts of their body once you were working on a particular point. Once I remember I was treating an area in the neck, and a person with plantar fasciitis was saying they could feel their plantar fascia symptoms. So again, the neck was nowhere near the feet, but the fascia connects every cell in our body, every organ in our body. It communicates with everything in our body. So it must be vitally important for how we hold and store our unprocessed emotions. I am no longer working hands-on with the fascia. I've been learning techniques on how to just ask questions, to listen to the sensations within the body, to allow what's trapped there to rise to the surface, to be observed and felt and integrated. There's still a place, of course, for hands-on work. I'm just going to let someone else do that. So back in about 2018, when I asked myself, what is true health? I thought I might just learn about how visualization was important or how meditation was important, but I have been taken down a path that's much more interesting, much more fascinating than that. And I feel like all paths lead to the same place and the same knowledge. It didn't matter whether I was coming from pain science or whether I was coming from reading trauma, like somatic therapy, trauma books and courses. A lot of things were all coming back to the nervous system has to be in balance. We have to get the nervous system regulated. It changes our biochemistry. A lot of research from HeartMath talks about the biochemistry of the heart, but also the bioelectrical capabilities of the heart and how the bioelectric field of the heart is the biggest in the body and actually influences every cell in the body, including our brain and our thoughts. And this is measured by heart rate variability. And it's correlated to the balance of the nervous system. And if we have a coherent heart rate variability, our body is in its optimal state of healing and operation. And this is how we're meant to live most of our life. The chronic stress state is only meant to be there short term. It's supposed to be there acutely or short time. If something dangerous is happening, we want to shift into the stress response to keep us safe, but we're not meant to live there. But most of us in the world at the moment live in a state of chronic fight or flight or freeze. So a lot of techniques are all about shifting the nervous system and getting that back into balance. But then it goes even deeper. In meditation, when you sit in mindfulness meditation and you become aware of the sounds around you and aware of the sensations in your body, and you're within your body but really acutely aware of everything you're sensing and feeling, you'll often be aware of a field that's around you and within you. A stillness, a silence that's kind of in between everything. Because the sounds and the sensations can't be all stuck together. That'd be a bit like cement. So everything has this microscopic, quantum-sized silence or stillness in between it. I've done a year course in compassionate inquiry, and Dr. Gabor Mate teaches that we all have a true essence that is the perfect version of ourselves that knows exactly what we need to heal ourselves, and that most chronic health issues or life issues are because we've had to adapt and create coping strategies to keep us alive in the past when we didn't have the skills to actually integrate these energies. These may also be handed down from ancestors, because if our ancestors or relatives from the past haven't processed their own trauma, it gets handed down epigenetically and we pick it up. We pick up whether a baby in the womb picks up the stress of the parents if they're stressed. And it's not out of guilt or shame that this happens. It's just what does happen. So the calmer and more regulated and more balanced we are, then not only do the babies and children receive it and respond accordingly, but it's how we also help others. Healing is often about the person who is the therapist has to be as calm and as balanced and as regulated as possible. So their bioelectrical field and their presence can assist the client to get balanced and learn how to stay balanced themselves. That's probably the healing in a nutshell. A lot of the somatic trauma therapies will say the same thing, that there's a capital S self, or there's definitely a part of ourselves, an essence of ourselves that is underneath, that is a perfect version of ourselves, that knows how to heal us. Maybe not from our own will, it may just guide us to the right teachers, the right practitioners, the right medicine that we need. Because all of us have a role, all of us humans have a role in life. We all have our skills. None of us know everything, so we've each got a role to play. And so sometimes I can help a select few. I am there to help them, but I don't help everyone. And that's the same for all therapists and all people who are got any sort of skill. We don't help everybody. We have our own niche, and that's our particular place in the big scheme and tapestry of life. And also I've learned that if we want to help others, we have to basically help and heal ourselves first. That we're only ever able to help others to the limits and depths that we've actually reached in our own healing. So a therapist is only as good as they've done their own inner work. Otherwise, they're going to get triggered and not be able to hear and deal with other people's deep pain if they haven't processed their own. So it's not the only reason I do my own work. I was doing my own inner work way before. I've always had this inner magnet pulling me towards not only the science and the spirituality of it, the bigger picture. And sometimes people don't like talking about the spiritual nature, but to me that's what inner wisdom is, the true essence is. This silence between and the stillness between all the sounds and sensations and physical material. All the 12-step programs that work really well for addictions and other issues that people have is founded upon a lot of spiritual principles. The concept of a higher power, whatever that higher power is to someone else, the universe or whatever. I do remember I used to watch the sitcom Mum with Alison Janey, and I think her character, Bonnie Plunkett, because it was about recovering alcoholics, said that her higher power was Oprah. So again, in this 12-step programs, you can have the higher power of your own making or idea. It's not necessarily a religious base. So it's interesting that a really well-proven, often used in addiction programs and other programs, I think even eating disorders use it as well, has a strong spiritual foundation. Because the 12-step programs talk about meditation. They talk about going within and dealing and examining your own flaws and meeting them, making amends for them. And that's what all the healing comes down to, is our ability to go within ourselves and with non-judgment and compassion to see and allow all what's not us, all those faulty beliefs, the faulty patterns, all the old traumas and emotions that haven't been dealt with bubble to the surface. Of course, it has to be done in a safe way. If it gets overwhelming, that's not good. That just reinforces it. So if this becomes overwhelming, definitely the presence of a therapist or a safe person is vital to help guide you through. But a lot of stuff we have to do on our own, and we can do on our own. Just the caveat is always to make sure we're not being overwhelmed. These sensations can be quite intense, but just being able to sit with them and observe them is what allows them to release and integrate. And then they're out of us, and we're then just flowing. We're flowing with the universe, how it's meant to be. I think Michael Singer, got it wrong. Michael Singer, one of his books, talked about how life is meant to be a bit like we're driving along. And life is just meant to be like we're passing by and just seeing everything as if we're just driving past. We don't attach to anything or get stuck anywhere. But our traumas and faulty beliefs often get stuck in our bodies. So when we're healing, we allow ourselves time, space, presence, compassion, safety to just allow all that stuckness to come up, be observed. Then it disappears. That sounds simple, doesn't it? Because it often keeps coming up, and it can take time, and it can be a bit scary to start with. But once you start to see the flow and you see the pattern and you see how it changes over time, and how as you release and let go, there is these moments, ever expanding and increasing moments of inner peace, clarity, calmness, wisdom. And we're usually increasing our level of consciousness as we let our old injuries and histories get absorbed and no longer attached to them. So I've been definitely in the unknown, which is basically where my request of understanding true health has led me, because there is no one path for all of us. And I've put some quotes in today because I was reminded especially of the Joseph Campbell path, the quote about paths. If you can see your path laid out in front of you step by step, you know it's not your path. Your own path you make with every step you take. That's why it's your path. So I found myself dumped into the unknown, which I realize is the next step on my journey, because I was doing a lot of healing work, but from that place of safety, just making sure I had my safety net on so I wouldn't get lost. So the universe, its infinite wisdom, told me, if you really want to know true wisdom, you've got to let go of everything you thought was true before. And there's no safety net in the unknown, the metaphorical unknown. I do catch myself having this resistance and wanting to cling to something, but I notice that is just old patterns. These are the old patterns that have been there buried deeply, because I've done a lot of work. But you're always finding these deeper levels. The deeper you go, you're finding ever more deeper roots to some of these issues. And being able to sit with them and notice them is the key. And I'm curious now in the unknown about how this pattern of control, which I've known has been there, is trying desperately to cling to the past and cling to safety and cling to what it knows. And it's trying to solve my problems the old way. But the universe and its infinite wisdom is not letting it solve it this way. So I've often said that there is a little part of me that always doubts the universe is going to help me, doubts that this is true. It's just a little doubter. That's linked to my little control pattern. And it's this little pattern that I'm now embracing and realizing it wants me to just accept the unknown, accept what's happening, let it flow. I've read about it. I thought I was doing it on many levels, but I've been pushed to do it in a deeper level, to really embrace the fact that I've got no idea where lots of my life is going right now. And I'm just trying to stay open to the flow of life and communicate with my own inner wisdom, to know it's going to take me to the perfect place. So I will be living in the perfect place for me and serving and being of purpose and allowing myself to use my skills to the best degree possible for my own joy. And if I'm living for my own joy, then I'm going to be of service to others and be helping others, because we can never help others from a place of lack or limitation or resentment. It always has to be that we come from a place of peace and clarity and love and calm and joy, because that's what we're going to be giving off in our vibration. Our heart's going to be singing joy, and then others are going to be picking that up. But if we're helping from a point of, I'm just run down, I'm doing this because I have to, I need to pay bills, then people pick that up as well. So if we could all learn to live from our greatest joy and find what brings us our highest joy, often we'll find that we're being of service to others, but we're also living a life that's perfect for us. So that's where I am. I've talked a lot today, so I would just do my small mini meditation, a little bit smaller and shorter today. So if you want to do that, I suggest you be present and not drive or walk or do something else. Just stay present by staying still, because being present is a vital key to accessing our inner wisdom. So if you can just sit, just feel your feet on the floor. Feel how you're supported by whatever it is you're sitting on or lying on. Notice what your hands are touching, the sensations. Are there any sounds that you can hear? Anything you can smell or taste? Just feel what's coming in through your senses. And don't judge them. Don't try and change them. Just notice them. Be aware of them. Now just be aware of all the space around you. It seems empty, but it's far from empty. Imagine it's just filled with all that is, the stillness of the universe, the infinite wisdom of the universe. And as we breathe in, we fill up every cell in our body with this infinite wisdom and knowledge of the universe. If you like, you can place your hand on your heart just to activate this bioelectric field that's all-powerful in our body. And you can also imagine you're breathing in and out through this heart center. As you breathe in a little bit lower and slower, and imagine as you breathe in, all the infinite wisdom of the universe is filling up every cell of your body, from the top of your head to the tips of your fingers and toes. And as you breathe out, you're breathing out everything that no longer serves you, that's ready to leave. And now as you're breathing in and out through your heart center a little bit lower and slower, just imagine how it would feel in your body if you were living a life of joy, if you were living from your heart center and doing what give you the greatest peace, the greatest fulfillment? If there was no limitations and no obstacles, what would it feel like to live from this center? How much joy would you feel? How expanded and open would you feel? Would there be inner peace? Would you feel abundant? Would you feel filled with health and vitality? How would you feel if all your limitations were removed and you could just live the life of your dreams? How would it feel? You may or may not have visualizations in your mind about where you'd be or who you'd be with. Sometimes we don't know what it would look like in the outer world. But what would it feel like in our inner world? That's the most important, because that's where it starts to develop first. Everything begins within us. So how would it feel just to have a life filled with joy, peace, safety, free from limitations and obstacles, free to express who you are? How much love do you share? How much joy? Just breathe in and out through the heart and really fill up with these sensations. And as this mini meditation comes to an end, just you can slow your breathing down to normal rate. Just wiggle your hands and toes and just feel where you're sitting in the chair or where you're lying down. When you're ready, you can open your eyes if they were closed. And just check in. Do you feel any different? Perhaps you feel a bit lighter. Perhaps you've had an inspiration. Maybe nothing's changed. Sometimes you might feel a bit heavier, or maybe some fear has emerged. Sometimes when we are calm, that's when our body feels safe to allow the unprocessed things to appear. Just be curious and non-judgmental with whatever has arisen. And I will say goodbye for this week. And I will leave you with another quote. This one's from Buddha. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. So enjoy walking your own path this week. Bye for now.